A banishment by chance, one last mission, and an ending I had completely written off actually happening. The previous episode left us with a cliffhanger, wondering who out of James and Rachel would be banished by chance after 2 tied votes. This was the second time this season we had seen this, and still to this day I prefer having another vote excluding voting for the 2 that are tied. Rachel had picked her box first, and it turned out she had picked the correct one. Her box had the shield and James was banished. The elation and then regret the faithfuls felt during James's misleading reveal must have felt like whiplash. James confused the faithfuls from the start and right up until the very end. We knew there was not going to be a murder, which meant Jack, Jade, Faraz, Rachel and Stephen were the final 5.
Manipulated around to make it look like me, because if I was a faithful, I would murder me. Or if I was a traitor, I would murder me.
That was the first time I felt like Rachel truly slipped up. Would anyone remember Rachel saying it? Having scraped in by the skin of her teeth, I was wondering how Rachel was going to navigate this. It seemed to be an impossible chance, but there was a sliver of hope. That hope was Stephen. Maybe it was a good thing they had one last chance to talk in the turret. Though Stephen's face looked like he could completely go back on the pact and vote for Rachel when the time came. Rachel's fate was in Stephen's hands, and he constantly looked like he was in a battle with himself on which way to go. For their final mission, they had to split into 2 teams and get into speedboats. On the lock, there was money at 4 locations. They had 45 minutes to cross the lock and gather the money. When there was a green flare, they needed to get to the location as quickly as possible, because if the flare turned red before they got there, they would lose the chance to collect the money at that location. They managed to gather £9,000, but they needed to get to Claudia before time ran out. There was just a little addition of a ladder they would need to climb up to get to the top of the dam. That ladder would not fill me with any confidence that it was completely safe, plus it looked kind of high. They managed to get to Claudia in time and added £9,000 to the prize pot. There was an extra £10,000 that could be added. They just needed to get to the helicopter in 5 minutes, but they needed to run down the dam facing forward. I wasn't even there and I was nervous. Faraz and Rachel were the most nervous, but Rachel seemed to just throw caution to the wind and went for it. Maybe she just wanted to get it over with as quickly as possible. With them all getting to the helicopter in time, the extra 10,000 plus the 9,000 gathered saw the prize pot now at 95,750. After the highs of their last mission, thoughts turned to the round table. Before the round table, Jade brought it up with Jack that Faraz didn't vote for banished traitors Fiona and Hugo. No one brought up that Stephen is the only one to have voted for both Fiona and Hugo. Watching the discussions, I was questioning, were the votes going towards Faraz, Jade or Rachel? Was Stephen going to turn and vote for Rachel? Was Faraz going to vote for Jade? Did Jack still trust Faraz? I wasn't sure, but I thought the votes for the last round table would be between 2 players, and one player, namely Stephen, would end up being the deciding vote. What I was not expecting was what actually happened. The vote was all over the place. Excluding Stephen, Jack and Jade had the potential to have a voting block, but they didn't vote the same way. This really surprised me. We knew Jack was going to stick with his vote for Rachel, but why didn't Jade vote for Rachel too? Instead, she voted for Faraz. Even if she had voted for Rachel, it wouldn't have made a difference, as Faraz, Rachel and Stephen voted for Jade. Stephen surprised me again. I keep underestimating him because once again I thought he would write Rachel's name down. For Jade to make it all the way to the final was something I didn't see coming. She put up a valiant fight to wade through the accusations that started from day one. With 4 players, in order for this to work out without having a tied vote, it needed to be another mess where one person voted for a third person, with 1 pair of players voting the same. It was clear to me this game was going to end with 2 players, but it was just a matter of which 2, so it was no surprise that the 4 players chose to banish instead of end the game. From the Faithful's point of view, this was another mess. Jack once again voted for Rachel, while Faraz voted for Stephen. At least they were both right about who the traitors were. Rachel voted for Faraz. Stephen had the perfect opportunity to cast his vote for Rachel, but voting for Rachel had the potential to see him lose, given Jack and Faraz had a sort of plan to end the game with just the two of them. I say sort of because I wasn't completely convinced of it, seeing how close Jack and Stephen were. Despite the temptation to do so, Stephen ended up voting for Faraz instead of Rachel. At this point, my nerves were through the roof. How had we got to the final three and Rachel was still here? I was in disbelief, but I was also worried. I always wait a few episodes before deciding if I want the Faithfuls or Traitors to win. Halfway through the season I wanted a two-traitor to win, but it didn't seem likely. Watching how both Rachel and Stephen navigated the obstacles the Faithfuls and Fiona threw at them was a great storyline, and I wanted them to keep their promise. I wanted something different than what we've seen in the UK edition so far. I had seen two traitor wins before, but I wanted it for my country. I was disappointed in the ending to UK Season 3, and going into this final episode, I had set myself up to be disappointed again. No surprise that once again all remaining players chose to banish. Rachel kept her promise and voted for Jack. There was no play for her to even consider voting for Stephen. Jack voted for Rachel. This meant the ball was in Stephen's court. Was he seeing pure pound signs, or would he keep his promise to Rachel and not be at the end saying to Jack that he's a traitor? Stephen kept his promise and voted for Jack. The two traitors got to share the prize pot of £95,750. I'm so glad they both kept their promise. I not only wanted a traitor win, I wanted a two-traitor win. I was so happy for the both of them. Here's me thinking that I was going to be disappointed with the final result. At different times during the game, I thought they were both toast. So for them to get to the end and win is a testament to how they played the game and how the Faithfuls didn't play as well. At the end of the previous episode, I just couldn't see how Rachel was going to get through this, but with the help of Stephen and Faraz, she managed it. From the first couple of episodes, I thought Stephen would be the first traitor out. I didn't even think any of the original traitors would make it to the end. At various points, the odds were stacked against both Rachel and Stephen. The fact there was no recruitment and two original traitors not only got to the end, but one surprised me. In each round during the final, the Faithfuls were too individual with their votes. Despite having the conversation about where their votes were going and Faraz and Jack speaking about a possible voting plan, they didn't even follow it. This and Rachel and Stephen having a voting plan and sticking to it was one of the downfalls for the Faithfuls. It wasn't just this episode. There were so many clues that were mentioned by other Faithfuls, but those theories weren't listened to. Harriet's sacrifice, or call it implosion, came to nothing. Looking back at this season, it had its peaks and troughs for me. The highlights were the couple of episodes in the middle where we got Fiona throwing her toys out the pram and trying to go for Rachel, Matthew trying to make a deal with the traitors, and Harriet's attempt to expose Rachel. The secret traitor was fun, but I would have liked it to go on for a couple of more episodes. The door closes on the castle for another season with two happy traitors. Thank you to all of you who have watched, commented, liked and subscribed during this season. I've enjoyed reading all of your comments. I'm currently posting videos about the Traitors US Season 4, so you can click the video on screen to watch. Alternatively, if you've already started the Traitors Island Season 1, then check out the other video. Until next time.